these eyes will deceive you. They will destroy you. They will take from you your innocence, your pride, and eventually your soul. These eyes do not see what you and I see. Behind these eyes, one finds only blackness, the absence of light. These are the eyes of a psychopath.
Welcome back to the Haddonfield Horrors podcast, where we review horror movies and horror movie franchises. I'm Mark.
I'm Rudy.
I'm Tuan.
I'm Maria.
And today we're watching Halloween, the Rob Zombie remake, which was released in 2007, written and directed by Rob Zombie. Maria, can you give the people a plot summary?
Nearly 2 decades after being committed to a mental institution for killing his stepfather and older sister, Michael Myers breaks out, intent on returning to the town of Haddonfield, Illinois. He arrives in his hometown on Halloween with the indomitable purpose of hunting down his younger sister, Lori. The only thing standing between Michael and a Halloween night of blood and carnage is psychologist Dr. Samuel Loomis.
So we've all seen the original movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, this is my beef with... This is the movie that made me hate all remakes on principle. Like, a good remake just, tells the story, but in a different way. The second half of this movie just retold the fucking story. Shot from shot, scene from scene, sometimes line for line, which was annoying. But the first half did what I don't like from remakes. It explained and changed Michael Myers' background. The first movie was scary because Michael Myers was just some normal suburban kid who had a seemingly normal life and normal childhood who just snapped one day and murdered his fucking sister. But I don't know what 70s hillbilly hell this Michael Myers went through, because what the fuck? Like, that whole breakfast scene when it started,
I hope she likes cripples.
Bitch, I will crawl over there and I will skull fuck the shit out of you.
Oh, I'll get the crutches for you.
But what about you guys? Maria, what did you think about the remake compared to the original and then the remake overall?
I mean, I agree with what you said. Like, the first movie, it was creepy, yeah, because it was nothing was explained, and it's just some kid, killing his sister. I do like that they tried to explain it in a way, and that they were kind of trying to give him a backstory. I just feel like it took way too long. They definitely should have just cut that short. That whole first half of the movie, I feel like was unnecessary. Like, I agree, there was just no reason for us to watch all that and to sit through that. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. It was, and yeah, literally, because I watched the original one for this, for the remake, and I haven't seen any of the Halloween movies until today. So watching that and then watching the remake, and yeah, you're absolutely right. It literally goes word for word. I was like, what the hell?
The only thing this movie did different is it tells you that Lori and Michael Myers are brother and sister, because in the original timeline we don't find that out until towards the we find out in Halloween 2, but towards the end.
Oh.
Yeah. Because H2O is a direct sequel to Halloween 2. So from Halloween 2 all the way to Resurrection, you know that Michael Myers and Laurie are brother and sister, but you don't get that from the first one. So this is the only thing that this one did different that I liked, that they got it out the way, but the whole backstory is weird.
Yeah. They made him seem, in the beginning, because he was killing animals, and that's, obviously a very
It's like serial killer 101.
Exactly. And then towards the end, there the psychologist, he was like, well, he was a happy boy Like they didn't make it seem like he was a happy boy in the beginning. I don't know. It was just weird because they were
That,
just
that's because he remade the first movie completely in the second half of this movie, and the first half of this movie like contradicted whatever he did in the second half. Like
yeah,
he was not a happy boy. Like his stepdad was a piece of shit. His mom was a well-known stripper. Like what?
yeah. It definitely made no sense.
What about you, Tuan? What did you think overall and compared to the original?
So compared to the original, this one's definitely like inferior. Um, but I won't say I hate this remake entirely. Um, I do remember. I feel like I went to the movies to see this one, or like I saw this one around the time that it came out, and at the time, like it was like I didn't
There
have
is
any.
no way you saw this in theaters. In 2007,
Yeah.
you were like single digits in age. You would have not been allowed. This
You
is
can
like
still.
this is
I
like
know,
rated
but shit. As
R.
long if I had someone to take me, I could have gone and seen the movie.
I couldn't see this in theaters. There's no way you could have.
Well, I've seen a lot of rated R movies in theaters when I was younger because
Oh,
I
oh
like
no.
to go to the movies because my parents know that. But I was trusted, I guess you could say.
Not oh my god.
But yeah, I do remember seeing this when I was younger, and I didn't like I didn't find like any issues with it back then because like I don't think I had much. I have knowledge of Michael Myers, but not like that much knowledge of the original to like really compare. But like now, like having seen like this one, the current reboot, and then the older movie, there's some things I do like about this one, and then there's a lot that I don't like about it. And I definitely agree that the second half, where they just basically like kind of shot for shot, kind of redo everything, like that's where you kind of lose me a bit when you do remakes like this because it's just a little pointless because it's really gets to the it really gets to that point where it's like, okay, if we're just doing a shot for shot, why are we not just watching the original at this point? And it it doesn't really add much of anything to it. It doesn't. I want to say it doesn't have anything to constitute a remake, but that's kind of what a remake is. But there's some other movies who've done these remakes type of things, and they change it up for the better. And the beginning was trying to do that, which I don't mind. Like I guess for a remake to differentiate, I didn't mind like them trying to expand on the lore of Michael Myers and like how Michael is the way he is and everything. Like I didn't really mind that as much, but literally once they get past that and it's like current day what like the story that was leading into the original movie, it's like, well, what was the point? It was like, what was the point of all that? We were just gonna go straight into everything else here. So it was like they tried to do something different. They did something different, and then they just reverted back to the original like timeline and whatnot of what was happening in the first like movie and stuff. So
Yeah,
that's where it kind of lost me a bit. But I will say I do like certain aspects of this movie. But I guess I could get into that a little later when we discuss like certain characters and stuff. But I would say like I don't hate this movie, but I definitely wouldn't recommend it over the first one or even the newer reboot, which is in the same continuity as the original.
I hate it. This is the movie that makes me hate remakes. Like I don't hate all remakes, but I automatically go into a remake ready to hate it, and it's because of this movie. I mean, of this era of like the 2000s remake craze, which so glad we're past that. I only really like a few movies, like the 2003 Texas Chainsaw, because they did it the right way, and Last House on the Left, you
That was
know,
good.
13 Ghost,
Ooh,
House of
that was
Wax,
great.
House of Wax. Like those remakes I like because they did something different.
The Friday the
This
13th remake. Devin got real
so
quiet.
so Rudy, what do you think about this movie and compared to the original and overall?
Well, you can't really compare it to the original because the original is like original for a reason and it's a classic. I agree with what Maria and Tawan both said about it, especially what Tawan said. Uh, I don't like when they remake movies and they go like all out with it and do literally what you've seen already in the classic movie. Like, I felt like they just modernized it, and that was it. With his own twist. Obviously, I'm a fan of Rob Zombie's music, but I just don't like him as a director because I feel like his movies are all always the same. It always involves like these like redneck, patriotic, people who are fucked up in the head, blah blah blah.
And
So
very vulgar.
yeah, very vulgar, and it's like
And
he
his wife
incorporated.
is always in it.
Yeah, she's like the finer girl in all his movies, but this movie particularly, I didn't like it, and I remember when it first came out, I didn't even go to the movies. I just waited for it to like leak online, so I can watch it bootleg. Sorry, Rob. So what was I going with this? Okay, so the movie itself was just too long, too slow paced for me. Like the first half is basically the background story, and honestly, we could have gone without it because sometimes we don't have to know the background story of the serial killer. It makes him much more intense. And with his background, us finding out that he had like a fucked up household and blah blah blah, it just like I don't know. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, it was like were we supposed to be sympathetic of Michael because
Yeah,
OG Michael I was fucking afraid of. This
yeah, because we
Michael I
didn't
was
know
like
him.
I'm
He
like
was
I
just a
kind of give him a
figure,
hug.
right? And so this movie was more. I don't know. It was like a drama with horror. It's all over the place. And the way that he directed the movie, too much shaking during specific scenes, especially when Michael's killing someone. I fucking hate that. I feel like I have vertigo when I watch those scenes.
Yeah,
Cause
that's like his directing style. Like at
yeah,
some point we're gonna cover like House of a Thousand Corpses and some other Rob Zombie movies,
I
and
love that one.
they're all like that.
Yeah, but yeah, the shaky camera thing, I can't, I don't fuck with that because I feel dizzy as fuck and I just can't focus. But yeah,
My two main beefs with this movie is one, I don't know when the fuck this movie takes place. Like I thought it started in the 70s, but then when they flash forward in time, it was still in the 70s and I was like what the fuck is happening? Like it's some weird ambiguous time and I just like I don't understand it. I don't like it. I thought it was gonna be set in present day, but there's like no cell phones and they're dressed weird and she's working at a record store, which is wasn't weird in 2007. But still. And then I don't know, the backstory was weird and like why is his mom a stripper? Like, that part I didn't get. Like why is she stripping? What happened? Like we didn't even
because
see.
Rob Zombie loves showing off his wife for some reason.
Yeah,
He does that in like everything. He always showing her off like that. Like
you
we
know
get it, bro. You like your wife.
he's directing the Munster remake, and she's playing the mom. And I'm gonna watch it just because I'm curious about how he's gonna fuck this up. But like my other beef is that my main beef is that this man he's on record. He's in interviews saying how he thought remakes were pointless. Why would you go and remake a classic movie, a classic horror movie? You should never do that. They're not needed. You shouldn't make a remake if you're not going to add anything to what's already there and make it better. Like this is what you say, and then you go and make this movie.
He said I added in the first 20 minutes.
Well, apparently the first 20 minutes is what he wanted to do, but he had to but the Akais, people who own the movie, who own like the movie and the rights, they're like, no, you actually have to still do everything else. You can't just have this whole Michael Myers thing.
Gotcha.
That's why with part two came, they're like, make a sequel, you can do whatever you want. And that's why we got we'll get there next week. Because part two is oh
Now
Maria
that
part two.
movie, I remember not liking that one.
Oh God, Maria Part Two. We'll get there. Part Two is something. Because
I'm just gonna skip next week.
those fucking hallucinations are wild. Just thinking about it is making me mad. Okay, Maria, do you have any standout scenes, good, bad, and different?
I mean, the whole beginning was just confusing. Though I did like the way Michael Myers looked in this movie. Like, I like the way they did make him very like serial killer slasher ish, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah, he looked very imposing in this movie. Like if I
Yeah,
actually saw this
he
Michael Myers, I'd be
I
scared
liked
of
his
shit.
movie. I like the mask design and how tall
Hmm.
he was.
yeah,
Yeah, that he was very imposing. Like I like when I do remember being scared of shit of this Michael Myers.
yeah, me too. And that's what I liked about it. I just don't understand why they had to add in that rape scene, even though it had nothing to do with anything.
You find it, boy!
I mean, I liked that, that Michael killed them, but it was just so unnecessary. I was like, why? Why is this here? Um,
I'm telling you, Robbie adding rape scenes in his other movies too. It's like he's obsessed with that shit.
yeah, it was like it was just so unnecessary. Like they could have easily have gotten Michael out of his room without doing that. I don't know. I did not like that. It just made no sense. Honestly, also any scene, not that I don't like Dr. Loomis, but I feel like his relationship with Michael was kind of weird. Like the way he would talk to Michael, like that when it was like his last day, he was like,
It's strange, Michael. In a weird way, you've become like my best friend.
this man has said nothing to you in 15 years. But
And
okay.
that's my other beef. Like the Michael Myers and Michael and Sam's relationship in the first one, it's kind of ambiguous. Like you get that Dr. Loomis put his all into trying to like save Michael, and he realized, okay, this motherfucker is fucked up. I gotta keep him locked up forever. And this one, it's like, what the fuck is he doing? It's a whole thing.
I did like how he broke out though, because I feel like it made more sense than the first one. Because he literally, in the first one, he jumped in after being, in that hospital or whatever that was for like 20 years. He just gets out and just starts driving. They mention it, but they never really like say anything about it. But here, you kind of just see him kill
That's
people.
because that's kind of explained in Halloween 6 badly. In Halloween 6, the doc you saw the OG, the doctor that he's talking that Dr. Loomis is talking to, like who gave him lessons.
Yeah,
In part 6, it's explained that that doctor taught Michael how to drive because that doctor is a part of a cult that worships Michael Myers.
what the fuck?
But by the time they got to H2O, they had completely erased that fucking part of the timeline. But yeah, it makes more sense here. And
Yeah,
poor Daddy Trejo, he was good to
I
Mikey.
No,
know.
for real. Oh, like
That's
I
my
was
guy.
like, leave man's alone. He was being helpful. Like he was not. He was just trying to do his job, but Michael
He was
crazy.
so he was so nice to him. Literally since he got there, I feel like if Michael for real wanted to kill him, he should have at least done it quickly. Like, come on, he didn't have to drown him like that.
And then drop the TV. Like, come on.
Yeah, that scene was. I don't know. I didn't think Michael was gonna do it, but um, also I guess like the scene when he's finally like with Laurie and he like shows her the picture and he's like kneeling on the ground. I did like the scene because I thought, it showed a different side of Michael in this movie, but I also kind of expected something else. I don't know, I just thought maybe she was gonna find out, like, oh my god, like we're siblings, or he was gonna talk finally after like 20 years, but no. So I don't know. I liked the scene. I just wish there was more to it. Yeah, I think that's basically it.
Rewatching this, I completely forgot that she doesn't know that Mike was her brother. I completely forgot they never told her that because we go into this movie having known since 19 whenever the fuck that second one came out that Michael Myers and Laurie Strode are brother and sister. Like that was like a pop culture fact. Okay, it came out in 1981. So we know since 81 that they're brother and sister. And I don't know why the fucking 2018 movie tried like is erasing that. Like they've been brother and sister for over like 40 years. Like what the fuck is wrong with you? But she doesn't find out in this movie. I completely forgot that. I could have sworn she found out in that weird pool scene.
I thought I thought that's where it was gonna happen, and then just did not.
No, because watching this movie, I remember that she finds out in part two, and I remember how she finds out in part two. There's another reason why I hate part two. So, yeah. But what about you, Rudy? You have any scenes you liked, disliked, thought were confusing, or indifferent about?
I'm indifferent about most of the movie because I've seen it already. It's like I've seen the original movie and it reminded me so much of it, but like I said, modernized. As far as favorite scenes, I would say that his kill scenes, anytime that Michael killed someone, were kind of creative and gruesome, and I love that. I'm all for like blood and like torture and shit like that. So that made up for the concept and the movie overall. My least favorite scene was pretty much the beginning because it was boring. It was long. I was just ready to see adult Michael do his thing. So it was a slow build up for me, and it took me like three times of watching it to finally kind of like it. And I would say kind of like really like that's just my term for it. I still didn't fully like the movie, um, especially the whole shaky scenes that I was telling you about, where anytime Michael's like around or killing someone, it's just like too much moving around, and I let me focus on it. Let me just like watch it without you shaking the camera too much. You got me? So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I don't really have many favorites besides the kill scenes. Um, I did like. I know I'm probably gonna like jump into it because we haven't gotten to characters, but I love how he killed Ronnie because I couldn't fucking stand that fucker.
That is some deep ass, serious, faggoty ass shit, man.
So like that was super satisfying to watch.
But what about you, Tuan? What do you think? What are your
Yeah, so I think I had two favorites from this movie. One being when he like killed that truck driver because he was actually like kind of on his level.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch. I'm gonna cut that mask right.
So like I say it was like completely even, but like he was kind of on the same level as Michael and was actually like putting up a decent little fight against him for a second, and then it just felt really real in a sense. I guess you could say. Another thing that I did like was the ending when Lori like shot Michael and like her like how her reaction to it because like I could definitely imagine like if you had to like shoot someone especially that close to you in the face and like their blood just spatters all over you like you would obviously probably have the same reactions to some shit like that, especially the situation that you had to like go into. So the reaction that Lori had like having to shoot him and like it ending on that was like that wasn't bad for like that, and the actress like played that pretty well. Um, Besides that, I don't think I had much else that I really liked, and then. I don't think I had many dislikes either, but it was just so much of it was the same that we seen before. That's not much. It wasn't like much to comment on, I guess you could say, and it wasn't like bad the way that certain things were like reshot, but it didn't add anything either to like make it notable.
I will say when it comes to the Friday the 13th remake, they do a lot of things different. I mean, it's still very much a Friday the 13th movie. To be honest, it could have just been another entry because it's so different.
Hmm.
But they keep enough to make it like okay, they're retelling a story, but they changed how they told it.
That's true.
because in theory they it's not even a fucking remake, because if it was a remake of the first movie, it would have just been Pamela running around killing people again. But
Yeah.
they gave us that, and then they gave us a whole new Jason like journey. Like they smushed the first three movies into one movie and then like repackaged it as a remake, basically.
Which
This,
works.
yeah, this just didn't. This just I don't this.
It wasn't giving.
It wasn't giving what Rob Zombie thought it was, and I don't know, but like Rudy said, they did have some great kills. Like the bathroom kill was good because they were both tall as fuck, and I was like, damn, this is gonna be a good 1v1, and it was like Buddy was given as good as he was getting, but in the
Yeah.
end, Michael did what he had to do, and I think my other favorite, that scene with Annie and her boyfriend when she's running out naked and she gets to the front door and he grabs her and yanks her back into the house and close the door. I was like, oh shit.
Like Leatherface almost.
Yeah, and like it's even because when I first saw this, like I had already seen all the other Halloween movies, so seeing her face, I was like, oh shit, that's the old girl from part 4 and 5. Oh yeah, because Maria, in Halloween Part 4 and Part 5, Laurie Strode is dead. She died off screen in a car accident. So the movie revolves around her 9 or 10-year-old daughter, Jamie, and Michael's trying to kill Jamie. And the actress who plays Annie in this movie, she played 9-year-old Jamie. So I was like, oh shit.
Actually, I didn't know that.
You haven't seen Part 4 and Part 5?
I didn't know it was the same actress though.
Yeah, it's the same actress.
That's cool.
Yeah, Rob Zombie asked her back after she was disrespectfully not asked to be back for Part 6, which,
Mm.
to be honest, was a good thing because Part 6 is ass. Like, Part 6 revolves around Michael Myers fucking his niece and getting her pregnant. No one wants to be a part of that. So,
I'm sorry, what?
okay, to explain, there are two different versions of Part 6 because the actor who played Dr. Loomis, he died. He died before they had to do reshoots. So the two different movies are it's completely different. And in the director's cut, okay, overall the movie's about a cult who worships Michael Myers and who's like trying to get him to kill his family, because the only way Michael Myers can stop being evil and stop killing is if he kills every member in his family that he's blood related to. And he's down to the last like 4 members of his family. Like they introduce cousins that we've never met before, and aunt and uncle we've never met before. So he's like killing people, and in the director's cut, it's explained that they kidnap. And at the end of Part 5, his niece goes missing from the fucking police department. Some man in black kidnaps her, and then in Part 6, we find out that she was taken by some Michael Myers worshiping cult. And in director's version, you see him about to like get undressed and rape her in a room full of people who are watching this while she's tied down. It's very fucked up, very disturbing, and she gets pregnant by him, and now he's trying to kill his baby, his nephew slash son.
Huh.
It's weird. But in the theatrical version, all the whole rapey part is out. It's still a cult. Michael Myers still wants to kill his nephew, but there's no mention of like rape. It's weird. It's weird. So no, all that part is out. But my other favorite scene is the favorite kill is damn. Is it? Damn. It would have to be the when he's killing the guards at the hospital because he took them out. Like they were fucking with him. They touched his mask. They're gonna rape that nurse lady. Like what the hell was going on? So I'm glad I was okay. Michael, wake the fuck up and like they're gonna rape this lady in his room, like in front of him. Like
It
what
was
the
a
fuck was that?
patient, and they did rape her.
Well, it depends on which version you saw.
Oh well, I don't know. I guess
It depends on which version you saw. But what about you, Maria? What are some kills that stood out to you?
I also liked that kill when he kills the guards. It was pretty gruesome. I also liked the kill when he killed Danny Trejo because I was like, what the fuck? The whole time he was like, I was good to you, Mikey. And I was like, he was good to you. Why are you doing this? But I just wish he could have killed him quicker, but it was a good kill nonetheless. Um when he I guess isn't really a kill, but when Lori first goes into the house and like you see like a pumpkin and then you turn on the light and like the boyfriend is just hanging with a pumpkin over his head. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know. I don't know what Michael was thinking, but I liked it.
Arts and
Uh,
crafts.
right? He was like, I'm just gonna decorate, I guess. Um, what other kill? I guess when, yeah, like the scene when Laurie shoots Michael and then like the blood just comes up, like splatters on her and she's just screaming. I thought that was a good kill too. I don't know why he like pushed her out the window though. Like he could have he like basically squished Dr. Loomis's head. I feel like he could have easily done the same thing to her, but I guess.
That was a
Um
nice stunt. I did like that when they like when he like threw themselves out the window.
yeah. Um I think that's it actually.
Tuan, share the class. What are some kills that stood out for you?
Definitely the ending one with with Michael and like Lori. That was nice. Well, I guess we can't call it a kill, but it was a nice. Like the way that that it happened. Like that was nicely shot. Um, yeah, I think that was probably. I did like the sequence with the cops, like you all mentioned earlier. I did like that sequence in general. Um, I don't know why. Anytime in any movie where like the protagonist, well, I don't know if we call Michael the protagonist, but like one of the main characters uses like a side character as like a human shield for a gun. It always makes me laugh. And then she like shot the fuck out that man with the shotgun, and then just got her neck ripped out. Like that was crazy. Um, so yeah, I think those are probably like my favorites kill wise. My least favorite was Danny Trejo because he did nothing wrong. He was just there doing his job. He did nothing wrong. Justice for Danny Trejo.
One of the scenes that I liked, which isn't a big deal, but was Annie's death scene. Like you mentioned, the way she got snatched up behind that door, and it was so reminiscent of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like it was an iconic scene, in my opinion, especially when I seen that part in the trailer when it first came out. I'm like, holy fuck! And I knew who she was because I was like, I'm a fan of hers. She was an urban legend, and
I love Turn Urban Legends.
yeah, and like Halloween, what, five, four and five, I think.
Yep.
So yeah, like bringing her back to the French, well, his own franchise as Annie, was pretty cool. I was happy for her because I hadn't seen her in a while. So that scene was my favorite scene, even though they don't show exactly how they kill her. They just kind of like show bits and pieces. That small particular scene was like everything to me. My least favorite kill was basically the kills they reshot again. They redid for from the original Halloween, where he kills what's her face? What's the other girl? The friend, not Annie, the other one. Um, yeah, the blonde one. Yeah, the one that was like in bed, naked and
The
shit. So
cheerleader one.
yeah,
Linda.
Linda. There you
Linda.
go. She that scene was my least favorite because we've seen it already. It was no different. It was like a copycat version of it, and again, if they're gonna do remakes, at least get creative and do an over the top kill scene or something new. You get me? So that pretty much sums up my favorite scenes as far as kills goes. Oh yeah, well Ronnie's death scene was the best scene ever because I couldn't fucking stand how he treated everybody at home. It wasn't as gruesome in my opinion. I think he deserved more than what he got, but it was satisfying to watch the bad guy die.
I will say the one change I did like when it came to kill was when he killed his sister, because that was drawn out more than it was in the original. Like in the original, we see him like stab Judith a couple times and she's dead. But this one, he stabs her and he lets her crawl and almost get away, and then he just comes behind and stabs her again. I was like, damn, damn. But now that we got on from that, Rudy, tell us what you think about Ronnie. I think we already
Well,
know.
yeah, I've summed it up, but I can't stand Ronnie. Thankfully, he wasn't in during the entire movie. It was just like the beginning, but even then, it was just like I couldn't tolerate his character. I can't tolerate people that treat their family members at home like that. It's traumatic for people who have experienced that in real life. I haven't personally, but you know what I mean. Like I felt for Michael, and I felt for the wife, and I felt for well, not Judith. She was a cunt, but um, Ronnie was just a piece of shit. I don't even know. Was he the stepfather or a real father? I don't remember. I think he was a stepfather.
Hon- Honestly, I don't know. I don't even think it's ever actually like stated.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming Ronnie by his name. It's he's just the stepfather, but um, yeah, I don't have much to say about him. At least not many nice things. Um, so yeah, he wasn't a standout character. He was more so like he played a big role only because he was the reason why Michael turned out so fucked up. Honestly, if you think about it, that's the only important, not important. What was I trying to say? The only main like the key that why he was even relevant to the storyline, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Ronnie was definitely trash. Literally felt nothing when he died. Besides, thank you for getting rid of him because yeah, he was just shit all around. Down talking Deborah, fucking being weird to fucking why am I forgetting her name? Judith, and then just like talking down to like Michael, calling him weird, all that type of stuff. So like, yeah, he definitely deserved his death. Like I, that was one of those like I didn't mind if he died. And was it? I'm trying to remember because I didn't watch it today. I watched it like I watched this one like a couple days ago. Was he also physically abusive? I don't know if I remember.
I think it's implied, but he was also in a wheelchair, so I don't know. Was he in a wheelchair? I'm thinking wrong. Never mind. I think he was.
Yeah, so yeah, either way, like he deserved what he got. Honestly, like that's the that's the one kill in this movie where I was like, yeah, he could definitely get taken out, and not felt nothing, and definitely did not feel anything when he did. So yeah, Ronnie, he was an op, so he got what he deserved.
Well, obviously, I didn't like Ronnie. Yeah, I don't like. I just don't understand um, why the mom would keep him around, knowing how he was. Like, you guys couldn't have a nice, even like a regular peaceful breakfast because this man over here is like yelling, cursing at your kids, and saying shit about your daughter. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Whatever, I guess. Um, I feel I'm not that I didn't like his kill scene, but I feel like they should have done more, especially because I mean he treated all of them like shit, you know. So I kind of thought his kill would have been a lot more like revenge. You know what I mean? Like Michael obviously feels very wronged from the way he spoke to him, but I guess I feel like his kill was the only kill out of the whole movie that was so short. He just tied him up, cut his throat, and then you find out later that he stabbed him too, but you never really get to see it. I don't know. That would have been nice. I don't know, he was a piece of shit. I mean, he definitely deserved to die. I just wish Michael would have like gotten a little creative and would have made him suffer, but I guess.
Tuan, tell us what you think about Deborah Myers.
I don't really. Well, first starting out, I don't really think that what's her name's wife is like that good of an actress, in my opinion. Like Rob Zombie's wife,
She not.
and like she was not really selling. Like she wasn't selling like mother. Like she wasn't giving me mother vibes in this movie. I felt like the scenes where they showed her at the strip club were like more believable than her being the mom. Which is like I don't know why, and I feel like Rob Zombie just added that in because I don't know, maybe he felt that, but um, in certain aspects, like you could tell that, like I guess you could kind of tell that she recognized that Michael wasn't always like there, like mentally, and like tried to like be like on a certain level with her son, but also she wasn't really much help in the obvious signs that something was wrong, like him like killing animals and all that type of stuff. So like it was like certain parts where like they were trying to get her into that motherly like vibe, but also because of the home situation and then her with Ronnie, like being with Ronnie and stuff, like um she wasn't gonna like step out of what I guess is like known to like them as like a family and everything. But besides that, I don't know if there's really. I don't want to say this much because I hate saying that, but like besides like her like spots in like the beginning and everything, she didn't really have much going on with herself besides them just deciding to make her like a stripper instead of just a loving mother and stuff. Like they could have given her any other job. Like why couldn't she work at a diner or something? Like I don't know. Why does she just have to be a stripper? Um, it wasn't really needed as much. I guess needed to like push Michael more because the kids like used that against him in the at the school and everything. Maybe like that was it, but besides that, um, yeah, Deborah was like I won't say she's like a bad mom, but she could have been better as a mom, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with what Tuan said. I mean, she like in the beginning, I don't know. I just can't get over the fact that like you literally let Ronnie into your home, let him talk to your kids the way he was talking to them, and just didn't do anything. I don't know, but I just like she was definitely trying to sell the whole motherly thing because she was like very very affectionate with them, which is kind of like weird to watch compared to like the contrast of like the way Ronnie was treating them and yeah, I don't understand why she had to be a stripper. I don't understand why they had to show us her stripping. Um, and yeah, like I also like agree with what Tawan said that there were obvious signs in the beginning. It's yeah, especially the whole animal killing thing, and I just feel like anyone would be concerned, but she kind of just wasn't. I feel like she just thought that maybe the way he was growing up was just probably the factor for it. Maybe that's why he was out here killing animals. Um, that maybe it's just the way they were living, especially with Ronnie around and with, I guess, with her being a stripper. But I don't know, like, especially towards the end when she was just like giving up and the scene where she was just like watching Michael and then she kills herself with the baby there, I thought was kind of crazy. Cause cause they made her so motherly, and you're just gonna like leave your baby. Like at least give him to somebody. I don't know. But other than that, I mean, her acting wasn't bad. It's just you could definitely tell that she was trying to very play up the whole motherly figure thing, and it was like a really. It seemed definitely out of place compared to like everything else going on around them.
I mean, I kind of agree with Tawan with how they portray. I mean, she was a good mom. I feel like we can't knock her hustle because nowadays these hoes be out there selling their pussy pics on OnlyFans, and all she was doing is stripping for a living. So she was getting coins somehow for the family, and from the looks of it, I think her man was a bum ass bitch anyway. So she had to do something to bring the bread to the table. Um, I just feel like again, Rob just wanted somehow to incorporate her being in a strip club for whatever reason. Um, she could have been like to one side, like working at a diner or something that a mother in a suburb would even do. Like, but then again, this is a trashy family we're talking about. Like, it's expected. So her character was. I mean, I felt bad for her. I feel like she was just doing what she had to do to, like, again, survive and have her kids survive. Um, I agree with Maria too. Like towards the end, they just I don't know. I feel like it was poorly written on their and like why make her so vulnerable and weak enough to kill herself after all the shit that she's been through and Michael has been through, and that's just like a bad example of a parent to just like kill yourself because you can't handle reality. Like you have to learn how to like manage with these things because they're real life situations that can happen to anybody. And that was just like a horrible example, which obviously fucked Michael up even more. Because imagine like your mom giving up on you and she just killed herself. Like, damn, I'm that much of a fuck up. But yeah, I feel like Michael was feeling some type of way and he was angry at everything and everyone. Um, but overall, Deborah was. I mean, her acting, Maria, you lying, girl, because she wasn't that great of an actress in this one. But she had her scenes where I was like, she won me over. Like, the beginning or when she went to go visit the school when they called her up and shit. Like, that was believable. But everything else after that was like, baby girl, I'm gonna need you to take some acting classes. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about Miss Deborah Myers.
The backstory for Michael Myers wasn't needed, and the backstory for his mom wasn't needed. Like that, what, like a minute long shot we get of his parents in part in the original is all we needed. This was too much. Way too much. Tawan, why don't you tell us your feelings on Annie? Annie Brackett.
Um, what's on- I don't really think I had much thoughts on Annie, to be honest. I will say I do will agree. Like going back a little earlier when her scene when she like got like snatched up by Michael, like that was actually like scary. The way that it happened, but like her character itself though, um, she was kind of inoffensive, I guess you could say. She didn't really add much. She was kind of there. I will say kind of there to like expand the kill count, but she didn't die actually, if I recall. Like they said she was still like breathing. Is that correct?
Yep, Annie is not dead. She's in part two.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So yeah, she didn't die. So but um, I don't remember. From what I recall from the movie, I don't remember her being like a bad friend or anything to Lori. She seemed like pretty inoffensive as like a friend and everything. So um, not to like shoo her off, but I don't think I had any like strong opinions about her character though.
She was my favorite. I like her sense of humor. I like how she was very outspoken. She definitely stood up. I mean, she just I don't know. She stood out. I mean, Lori was too much of a fucking lame. Uh, she was like lame as fuck. Like I'm not even gonna go forward with the part two. I mean, she did change a lot between one and two. I'm not gonna spoil it yet, But like the first part, she was fucking lame, and she's just like the typical like what is that term? She was a prude. Linda was more like the sexual one, and she just cared about her looks and her boyfriend, whatever. Annie was the one that stood out to me the most, and I like her. I like Danielle Harris as an actress because she does that a lot with her character. She brings like something to them that just makes it much better because it's relatable. Obviously, I want to relate to the friends as well because I like having friends just like her with her attitude and her like demeanor, blah blah blah. So I just wish they did something with her hair. She looked too childly for me, too grammar school. Like it's believable high school, but I don't know. It wasn't a look till part two when she had the longer, prettier hair. But yeah, I don't have much to say about Annie except that she was the baddest bitch in the movie.
Maria, you have any thoughts?
I mean, I agree with both Rudy and Tawan. I did like her personality. I thought she was funny, but at the same time, you just don't get a lot of her. Um, the main thing that stands out about her was her kill scene because it was really great. I forgot about it, but it was really great because yeah, because she like goes out, she's screaming her head off, and he pulls her back in, closes the door, and it's just like yeah, it's just quiet. Like I feel like it's the moment where you catch your breath. Out of the whole movie, it's like one of the really good directed moments. But yeah, but I just feel like they didn't just give us a lot from her character. Um yeah, she like what Tawan said, it just kind of seemed like she was another kill, even though she's technically not really dead. Um yeah.
Well, we're going to move on to her dad, Sheriff Brackett, who has much more of a presence in this movie than he did in the original, and I'm guessing that's because they have Brad Dourif. Brad Dourif is the voice of Chucky from the Child's Play franchise, and I have to admit, like I kind of like Brad Dourif's portrayal. This is like the one of the pluses for me when it came to this remake, especially when we get to see a lot more of him in part two. But what about you, Rudy? What would you think of Sheriff Brackett?
I mean, yeah, he had presence in the movie more than the original one, but I just didn't care for him too much. His character, that is. I always love seeing Brad. Clearly, he's an icon at this point. But to say that his character was anything important to the movie or the storyline itself, somewhat. He, I don't understand his relationship with Annie because they seem to be open in the second part of the movie, but the first one, excuse me, I don't see much unless I don't remember because I haven't seen the movie. I remember it all, but like I don't think that they even had a close relationship till after he found out that she was dead, and then he was crying and shit, like being dramatic.
Yeah, that doesn't
Um,
happen. Their relationship doesn't happen in like closest until part two.
right, that's what I'm saying though. Like he was more like a deadbeat father. Like he cared more about his fucking job, which is cool and all, but bro, you just have you failed at your job because your daughter got killed. Like where were you at? So like that kind of blew me in the movie just watching it because they made him seem from like this sheriff who cares so much about his community to no, you don't. You just started caring after your daughter got killed. You get me? So I um I didn't like the way he was written as a character. He didn't bring too much to the table, and plus the scenes were kind of boring. Too much dialogue.
I think like the only memorable thing about him was like the fact that he basically found Lori and then gave her to had her become adopted. That was it. I definitely like this sheriff better than the one in the original because I feel like that guy was kind of creepy. um I don't know if they made him creepy. I don't know, that scene was just weird. But I liked him here. He was just as I feel like he was just as funny as his daughter. Can't imagine what he must have felt like seeing his daughter on the ground bleeding. But yeah, he was just kind of there. Honestly, to me, it just feels like his presence is just as strong as the sheriff from like the original. But then they just added in that scene where like, well, actually the sheriff is basically who, you know, gave Lori to her adoptive parents. But that's it, honestly.
Well, Tuan, what did you think about
Yes.
what did you think about Dr. Loomis this time around?
Um, I don't want to say that I really like this portrayal of Loomis, but I do find this Loomis to be a little bit more believable in the sense that if this was like a real world type of thing, Loomis as a doctor would definitely probably like use Michael to like get his status higher in like that realm of like psychology and stuff like that, like making books on him, doing like speaking tours and everything, talking about like the interview and stuff. Because like people are obsessed with like serial killers and stuff, so it's not above like the realm of like the what's the word I'm looking for, like realistic type of thing for him to like be that type of person. Like I could definitely see that happening if it was like the real case. So I guess I could say I kind of like that aspect. It kind of reminds me of in the how that doctor was in the was it part 7 of Friday the 13th with Tina. Like he probably would use like all the information and everything to either like sell it or make himself more richer off the experience of it. So that idea of it makes a bit of like sense, I guess you could say. But Loomis in this one wasn't like, but he also wasn't like giving like in the original. I felt like the original Loomis was actually trying to help Michael, but this Loomis was trying to, I guess, see what he could get out of Michael while trying to help at the same time, but he didn't really feel like he was helping as much. He felt like he was just kind of there because like they assigned him to it, and he was probably thinking of how he could benefit off of it, I guess. Um, but I do like the actor that portrayed Loomis in this movie. He's in some other stuff that I've seen before that I like, but besides that, um he wasn't a good doctor. I don't think he was really a good doctor in this movie.
I agree. He was just when it cut to like, to him being with Michael, and then next thing you know, they were like, "Oh yeah, he wrote a book." I'm just like, how the fuck did he write that book if Michael didn't talk to him for like 10 years? That's
No,
what
for
I want to
real.
know, right? Like it just didn't make any sense. And then on top of that, I mean, I agree with what the sheriff and what the graveyard guy said. Like he was definitely profiting off Michael, basically. Also, a lot of things he told Michael were just kind of weird. Some of their conversations, I'm just like, I don't know. It was just weird. He definitely didn't seem helpful until the very, very, very end when he was like, "We have to get him, you guys." Um, and then he helped Lori. I thought that was pretty cool, I guess. But other than that, I mean, he definitely was money hungry and just used Michael. Um, Not that I wished he died, but I wish his kill scene was also a lot like. I just figured it would have been more of an impact than just Michael crushing his head, even though he lived. Like I guess, but um, yeah, I definitely feel like the doctor from the first movie. Like, yeah, like I agree with what Tawan said. It definitely felt like he was actually trying to help Michael compared to, this doctor who was just kind of like, let me see what I can get out of this kid and write a book about it. Especially because I don't know, he was calling him a monster. He was calling him all these things, and it's like this kid hasn't talked in years. Sure, he killed his family, but I mean, if you want to go strictly from like the timeline of the movie, his family, they were all kind of pieces of shit, so it kind of makes sense why he did that. Um,
Yeah, like my beef is that like all of Loomis's speeches in this movie, like the first half, completely dis- discredits them. Like in the original movie, like when the original Dr. Loomis said that I looked into his eyes and all I saw was evil, I was like, I fucking believe it because like he murdered his sister for no reason. I believed everything Dr. Loomis said in the original movie. Now I will say Dr. Loomis, the original, was in most of that original franchise. And towards his last like three movies, Dr. Loomis was back going batshit crazy, trying to kill Michael Myers and trying to sacrifice Jamie Lloyd to Michael Myers. So when we get to this one and Dr. Loomis is kind of all over the place, I wasn't too mad about that, but his relationship with Michael didn't seem real. It seemed off.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
definitely one sided. That's what I felt. I don't know. Sorry, but
No, no, yeah, it definitely was. There was something there in the original movie. There was like you had a sense that he still wanted to try to save Michael, but also knew that he probably would have to put Michael down. And this one is just like, where my paycheck coming from? Rudy, what about you? What you think about Dr. Loomis this time around?
I liked his character. I thought he did a good job at trying to become. I don't think he wanted to like legitimately become besties with Michael. I thought he just wanted to like manipulate Michael into believing he was cool with him so that he can get more information on Michael, etc. Have him open up to him. Um, Although I don't think that he's not Donald Pleasence, obviously from the original. I think this doctor was more. How can I put it? Like more modernized, more less. I couldn't connect with this one on that level. Like I couldn't care too much for him because I feel like he was too pushy in some scenes, and also wanted to use Michael as a way to gain fame and gain publicity overall. Because again, going back to part two, he does become somewhat of a popular person after writing a book, so it has me wondering, like, was he really like trying to help Michael, or was he trying to do it just to write a book on him? And kind of, like how doctors be doing it, they just be like observing their patients, and then they just don't really care for them. They want to make a story out of it. That's how I seen this Dr. Loomis. But again, it's just my personal observing uh, me observing him, obviously. So it's not something that everyone else would probably agree to. But yeah, that's all I have to say about this Dr. Loomis. He didn't bring too much to the table, but I like the actor, and he did a really good job playing the original Dr. Loomis.
Well, Tawan, let's talk about Laurie. What'd you think about Laurie Strode? This one compared to the OG, the Jamie Lee Curtis.
Well, we obviously can't make that comparison, but um, I guess what I will say about this Lori is she felt a bit more, even though she was still like a bit more prudish in like regards to her friends, like Rudy mentioned earlier. She felt a bit more lively than Jamie Lee Curtis, and in like certain scenes, like she just felt like not like I feel like Jamie Lee's performance, like in the original, was like a little more stoic. Like she was kind of like her guard was up and everything like that, but. Um, I felt like the actress that played her in this one was like a little bit more lively. Like she felt a little more like a teenager, I guess you could say. And that worked for me, and also like the scenes where she like the more horror centric scenes where she was supposed to be like scary and like scared and stuff. Like she was selling it, especially that ending scene where she shot Michael. Like that scream and everything she did, she sold the fuck out of that. I can't even lie. Um, so that was really good, but I don't know. Like, I don't want to say like I didn't like. I don't want to say I didn't like her because she like the actress did a good job in portraying her, but um, there was just something about this Lori that wasn't hitting the same as like the Jamie Lee Curtis one, and I don't know exactly what that is, and it's not just because it's like the remake and everything, but it's just something that was kind of missing that wasn't the same as like the original. But I won't say that I dislike the portrayal of Lori in this movie from the actress. Like I feel like she did a good job, but it was just something that was kind of missing there, and I don't know exactly what that is.
Rudy, what about you? How do you feel about Laurie Strode in this movie?
Oh my god, don't even get me started on the little fucking girl. First of all, her character, like I said, was fucking annoying. Her voice annoyed the fuck out of me. And she was just boring. Like I'm telling you, she was a prude. She didn't want to do shit. She didn't want to be like Annie. And I don't know how the fuck she's even friends with Annie and the other girl. I keep forgetting her name. But like she's like so yin and yang. Like, ugh. Like do something with yourself, mamas. So when I watched the movie, I didn't care too much for Lori because she just seemed as like a whiny little brat. She, I guess it was just the actress, Scout Taylor Compton, who just ruined it for me. I'm not a fan of her acting. Her voice in general is just annoying. So maybe that's why I didn't like her. Compared, oh, well, I'm not gonna say this because I don't want Tawan to be like you can't compare. But like compared to Jamie Lee Curtis playing Lori, she did a way better job. Like she can actually pull off the reserved girl character. This Lori was too forced, and she was just being prude and obnoxious, and it just didn't go well. I felt like she forced it too much. Um, One particular scene that I oh actually nope, never mind. I take that back. That's actually in part two. I don't know why I like part two better than this one, but that's all I'm gonna say about Laurie Strode. But I have a lot to say about her in the second part.
I will say when it comes to part two, I don't like part two, but with him having more freedom to do whatever he wanted with part two, there are certain characters and certain scenes that are better. But then there are certain parts that are ass. But part two is more memorable than part one because part one is just what we've already seen. But Maria, what do you think about Laurie Strode?
I didn't really like her voice either. And her character was kind of like sometimes she would make like dirty jokes and then like sometimes she'll just act very like yeah, like very prudish. It was weird. It was kind of like a weird um thing to watch, I guess. Um she did give me very like 14-year-old vibes, like very very much a tween. Um she was just kind of there. Like I feel like we don't really get much of her, I guess if that makes any sense. Besides when she like the biggest thing about her was her killing Michael. I will give her though, she did fight. She did put up a good fight. She was definitely fighting for her life and I liked that. Um but other than that, I don't know. She just didn't really like I feel very indifferent about her, even though she's the final girl technically. And yeah, she just I don't know. She just didn't leave an impression, really, compared to like everybody else. She was just kind of like I just have no opinion of her at this point.
Well, what are your opinions on Michael Myers, Little Mikey and Big Michael?
I mean, at this point, they definitely feel like two different people. I did like that they explained a little bit from his background, but at some point, his character just wasn't consistent, and that made no sense. Um, I I just don't really get the whole mask thing, I guess. And then he just ends up with the Michael Myers mask. Like really? I don't know. Him as a kid, it was just kind of basic, you know. He was being bullied. He had a shitty family. Um, Besides the whole serial killer origin story thing going on. Um, but him as Michael Myers, I do like. He was very intimidating as Michael Myers, and I liked that a lot. Some of his kills, they were gruesome. I mean, he was trying. Um, Actually, I think he is my favorite character out of the whole movie because well, besides like not really the first half, but the second half, because he was giving very much, slasher film killer. Because he was very intimidating. Um, he was like, I mean, he was tall and he was just like very scary. Um, and I liked that, so I did like his character.
Oh, Michael Myers, the big guy. Um, I think he was the most brutal Michael Myers of the franchise. One, he was taller, he was more like swole, and he was fucking a maniac. Like, I liked Michael as an adult because it gave you an idea that he was just this angry serial murderer, killing people for no fucking reason. Um, I don't like the young Michael because again, it just ruins the entire purpose of the movie. Like, I wanted him to be just a nobody, someone who's a mystery, who's just randomly killing people for no reason. That makes it scarier. But once you know their backstory, you're just like, oh, well, it's okay. It's Michael Myers, and he went through a lot, so he has, a reason to kill people. That's how I see it. But had they just stuck to this stranger who just happens to be creeping up on people, killing them, blah blah, that would have been a better storyline for this particular remake or just in general. Because who wants to know the motive? Who do we actually care about the motive or like their backstories? Yeah, in real life maybe, but like in a movie, you don't want to know, especially not me, because I want to know. No, actually, I don't want to know because it ruins the suspense. It ruins the creepiness behind it. Like, I don't know. Mystery killers make it so much better, in my opinion. And this Michael was super brutal. I loved it as an adult. When he was an adult, I mean, killing people, because it gave you a sense of, damn, this guy is really fucked up. Like, he is not holding back for any reason or nobody, and he's just gonna go batshit crazy if you get in his way. So I love this. His I wouldn't say character, but you know what I mean. Like, this Michael Myers version was really cool. I don't like the mask only because I feel like Halloween 2018 copied that concept of him having like this super old, rusted out, like ripped up mask. So it looked too Leatherface-ish for me. It looked too, what is that other fucking killer I'm trying to think of from the 80s or 70s? I forgot. But you know what I mean? Like, the mask wasn't giving. I felt like they should have just stuck to the original Michael Myers mask.
I mean,
That's
I
all.
prefer this mask than what they give us in part two, which is him with a hood,
Oh yeah, I don't know where they were going with that, but I guess he tried to make him scarier, but he looked weird.
homeless.
Yeah, very homeless. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about Michael Myers.
Tawan.
Yeah, I will agree with both Rudy and Maria. I really like Michael's portrayal in this movie after he after he was out of the facility and everything, because like so he was just very like imposing, and like I feel if like I did like see this Michael, like if I saw any Michael, I'd probably be like what the fuck, like scared. But like this one was like he had that feeling of like an imposing figure, and like you should be scared of him, and it worked for like the vibe that they were going for in this movie, and I think it fit pretty well as also with everything that they were going with, and he felt really strong, like he couldn't be like stopped or like spoke reasoned with or anything, even though they're like all like that. But it really felt that way with this Michael. I will agree, I did like the mask as well, the way how it looks like beat up, torn down and stuff. It fit the aesthetic really nice, and yeah, honestly, I'll agree. Like Michael's probably the best character in the movie. So yeah, I will say we'll agree with both like sentiments on that, and his kills like felt like very brutal, um, compared to like other ones as well, and I feel like they kind of went with this type of Michael, like going into the reboot that we have now. Like the reboot kind of feels like even though they're going off the original continuity and stuff, they also kind of took the brutality of this Michael and put it into that continuity with the story that we have now. So that kind of worked in the newer like reboot or continuation and stuff as well. So and it fit, and that I would say it's probably one of the best things that we probably got out this movie, to be honest.
Well, with that being said, we are all done here, people. Well, not quite. Tuan, can you give us the behind the scenes info, please?
Yes. So this movie's budget was 15 million, and it brought in a box office of 80.4 million. Some interesting info we have for you. So Rob Zombie cast his wife Sherry Moon Zombie because he wanted a tall actress to play Michael's mother. Could have been anyone else. Before reinventing the legendary Halloween, Rob Zombie made the wise choice to inform John Carpenter about it. In response, Carpenter encouraged Zombie to make it his own. Malcolm McDowell, who played Loomis, ruined a number of great takes by hysterically laughing at the other actors. Emma Stone auditioned for the role of Laurie Strode. Danielle Pennebaker also auditioned for the role of Laurie. Scout Taylor Compton was cast instead. 2 years later, Pennebaker was cast as the female lead in the Friday the 13th remake in 2009. The film also underwent reshoots as a result of poor test screenings. These included a new escape for Michael from the hospital as well as an alternate ending. To get into some critics' reactions, the film currently sits at a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. The consensus reads, Rob Zombie didn't bring many ideas to the table in Halloween, making it another bloody disappointment for fans of the franchise. The San Francisco Chronicle felt Zombie was successful in both putting his own spin on Halloween while at the same time paying tribute to Carpenter's film. BBC News agreed that the first half of the film worked better than the last half. They stated that Zombie's expanded backstory on Michael was surprisingly effective, also agreeing that McDowell was perfectly cast as Loomis. But the Zombie failed to deliver the supernatural dread that Carpenter created for Michael in his 1978 original film. And lastly, the New York Daily News critic believed the film lacked tension and went more for cheap shocks, focusing more on the enhancing of the imagery of violence than real attempts to scare the audience.
Well, enough about them. What about us? Rudy, do you cash or pass Halloween 2007?
I personally will pass because it was just if you're a fan of the classic Halloween, just stick to that. Unless you like cheap remakes that are just like recycling the same concept but with its own little twist, go for it. I usually like the fairness of it all, and I would normally say I would cash it just to give other people a chance. But I don't think this was necessarily a good remake. I think he lacked, and like they even said in the critics, he lacked with suspense build up. Like it was more so straight to the point. Um, at least the original one, it had like Michael just coming out of nowhere in the shadows or like in the fucking bushes, and that's enough to like build suspense and get you all like tensed up. This one didn't have any of that. It was just strictly Michael. Here we go. Kill this person. Kill that person. Nothing that'll build up to that. You get me? And that's what is important for a movie to actually successfully succeed.
Maria, do you cash or pass?
I pass. This just like there were some parts that I liked. Um, I did. I mean, I haven't seen any of the other Halloween movies, but I mean, I agree with what Rudy has said earlier that this Michael was really gruesome. But like, if they just hadn't added in all those other things that were so unnecessary, then this movie would have been great, and I would have really liked it. But like, it's just literally 2 hours of like nothing. Of like, it's 2 hours of nothing, and we get like a little bit good shots of Michael, and then like that's it. So I will pass.
Tawan, cash or pass?
Um, I think I probably would pass on this one. Um, like I like some of like the brutality and stuff, the way that it is. I like Michael and stuff in here, but that's not enough to really watch this movie. Honestly, um, I would probably like if someone wanted to like get into the Michael Myers like series or lore, I probably would tell them to either watch the original or they could just honestly pick up in the newer one. Um, to be honest, like a lot of people picked up the newer continuation and have been enjoying it for without even seeing the original. So I would probably tell someone to do that before telling them to watch this one. If someone's interested in going on a binge, you could check this one out. But I probably wouldn't recommend checking it out. It's not worth the time, honestly.
And for me, it's a pass all the way. Don't watch it in the binge. Don't watch it in the marathon. Don't read the Wikipedia. Just completely skip this movie. It's not needed, not necessary. Again, this is the movie that turned me off of remakes completely. And I think I'm still justified with that. This movie, less is more. Okay? Don't explain too much because it ruins the appeal of the movie in general. You got too much style, too much substance, and his wife isn't needed. But we're going to see a lot more of her next week when we review Halloween 2. Yay! Thanks, everyone. The Haddonfield Horrors Podcast is a Letters to Media production. Should we do an intro?